Good day, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Aaron Joseph Pobre, and today I want to take you on a very personal journey, one that goes beyond the usual academic reflection. But this presentation is not just a requirement, but a story of growth, struggle, awareness, and rediscovery. I have titled this Discovering Myself with Uself, a personal journey to growth and peace. So when I heard about this course, I honestly didn't expect that it would be such a big impact on me. I thought it would be just another subject about theories, lectures, and concepts I need to memorize. But as the week went by, I started to realize that this class wasn't just about understanding the self, but it was understanding myself, my real self, indeed. So it asked me to slow down and ask difficult questions like who am I outside school? What are my strengths and importantly, my weaknesses? What values do I hold close? What patterns in my thinking are helping me? And which ones are holding me back? And I'll admit, those weren't easy to answer. Because, like many students, I've been always focused on outputs, getting things done, passing exam, meeting expectation. But you self encouraged me to go inward. It asked me to reflect on on the kind of person I am becoming, not just kind of student I am. It made me realize that I've been carrying some habits, thoughts, and fears were slightly shaping me the way I saw myself and hadn't really taken time to sit with them until now. So this course helped me zoom in four key areas of my weaknesses in my personal development. So first is a feeling distant from my inner values and purpose. Then second, struggling with time management. Third, doubting my abilities. And lastly, overthinking. So these aren't just surface level issues. Each one of them connects deeply with how I live, how I study, and how I relate to others, and especially how I relate to myself. What I appreciate the most was that GSF didn't just leave me with just lists of problems to think about. It offered me frameworks like spiritual, psychological, and intellectual self, and allowed me to explore particular steps, beliefs, mindset, mindset shifts to start changing for better. So in this presentation, I will walk you through each of these four key weaknesses of mine. For every one of them, I'll talk about the goal that I've set for myself, the first step I took to address it, the principle or learning that guided me, and how the small step is slowly making a big difference in my life. This is not a perfect story, but I'm still learning, still stumbling, and still figuring it out. But in belief that growth starts with honesty, and this presentation can encourage every person to pause and reflect on their own life. So then that for me is more than enough. Because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to live better, feel more at peace, and stay true to who we are, even when life gets messy. So once again, thank you so much for being here. And with that, let me take you to the first part of my personal journey, reconnecting to my inner values and sense of purpose. First, let's talk about the table of contents. So we have weakness number one, feeling distant from my inner values and purpose. Weakness number two, poor time management. Then weakness number three is doubting my abilities. Then weakness number four is overthinking. Then lastly, conclusion. For weakness number one, feeling distant from my inner values and purpose. So let's start with something deeper than academics, but my spiritual self. In college, it's easy to lose sight of your values. You're thrown into deep group projects, deadlines, competition, pressure, and somewhere in the middle of all of that, you forget to ask, am I still living according to my values? I realized I was drifting like a car. I wasn't feeling connected to the things that give my life meaning, faith, kindness, inner peace. And that's what I identified my first weakness. I was feeling distant in my inner values and purpose. Purpose in life or purpose in everything. So I set this goal for myself to remain grounded, to stay connected to my beliefs, and to let those beliefs guide me to the chaos of college life. The spiritual self reminded me that life is more than just accomplishment, but it's about fulfillment, peace, and authenticity. So one step I took was to start praying before going to bed, not out of desperation or fear, but out of intention, a conscious effort to reflect, to slow down, and to connect to something greater than myself. This habit helped me feel centered again. It gave me clarity when my days felt confusing, and it reminded me that success without peace isn't a real success. I'm still learning to listen to my spiritual self and the one that tells me when I'm going too much or when I need to let go. But now I'm listening more closely. This process or this step helped me to become who I am today. It made me focus, it made me happy and more enjoying on what life gives me. So this is a proof video wherein I was videoing myself 2 weeks ago when I need to sleep. Then we go on weakness number two, poor time management. The second weakness was something I think most of us struggle with as a student, is time management. I found myself constantly procrastinating. I would know about deadlines weeks in advance and still end up rushing things the night before. Not only did that make my performance worse, but it also left me feeling anxious and overwhelmed. For example, this video recording, I did it last night, but the edit or the recording misfunctioned, so I was repeating this recording now. I'm so sorry, sir. So I set clear goal to improve my daily routine, avoid cramming, finish assignment, and head of schedule and work more consistently. So GU self introduced me to psychological self. And one principle that stood out to me is the self dynamic. We're not fixed. We can learn, grow, and change, but only if we're intentional. So I made some real changes. Uh, I bought I bought a notebook planner and started writing down weekly goals, not just for academic, but even reminds my meals and self care. I scheduled specific hours for studying, and during those hours, I turned off distraction like my phone or social media. And then lastly, I also tried using Pomodoro technique, which really helped me because working in focus for 25 minutes, blocks with the short breaks, with 5-minute breaks, and helped me to stay focused without burning out. So this simple adjustment taught me that power of structure. It realized that managing my time well wasn't about being rigid. It's about being kind to my future self, not rushing things out, and just planning and simple notes. I still have days off, but now I bounce back quicker. I don't rely on motivation alone. I rely on systems I've put in place. This is a proof of my notebook or my journal or a planner wherein I list down the things that I need to do on a specific day, but sometimes even a week or a monthly basis. Next is weakness number three, doubting my abilities. So this weakness that is very personal and more often hidden with other person is doubting my abilities. Sometimes I'd sit in class and I feel like everyone else was smarter, faster, or even more prepared. And I wonder, what if I don't belong here? What if I'm just not good enough with everything in life or in academics? So I made it a clear goal. It's not just about aim for academic success, but to build academic confidence. To believe that I could handle college and life challenges even when they're tough. Because everything's tough. Sabi nga nila, walang madali. One big shift was how I saw failure. Before, I thought failing a quiz meant I wasn't smart. But now I see it as a feedback, as a moment to adjust and not give up. I started listing down my small academic wins and a paper early, understanding a difficult concept, speaking up in class. Then this weren't just easy tasks. They were signs that I was growing. Geo Self introduced the idea of intellectual self and resonated with this idea of a growth mindset that intelligence can be developed through effort and resilience. So through this mindset, I started appreciating the effort behind learning. I stopped tying my worth to grades and instead started tying it to growth. And now I see challenges as opportunities, which is good. I've learned to be proud of my persistence and stop waiting for perfection before recognizing progress. College will continue to be hard, but now I know that I'm capable, not just because I have all the answers, but because I'm willing to learn and keep trying. This is a notebook or a journal of me listing down my small wins, my wins, and me trying to get better or me just doing my best in life. This is for the month of July or just 2025 alone. Weakness number four is overthinking. The last weakness I'd like to share is something that I've struggled for a long time, not just now, but a few years ago. I would overanalyze conversations, stress out small decisions, and replay things that I had over and over. It was exhausting. It's not easy. So my goal become to trust myself more, to become present, to be in the present moment, not to not question every thoughts. From the psychological self, I learned that overthinking is the root of fear or rooted in fear. Fear of making mistake, fear of judgment, of not being in control. What helped me was practicing self-awareness. I realized that when I overthink, I'm usually trying to predict the future or fix something in the past. Both things I can't control or you can't do anything about it. So I took action. I started writing down my thoughts when they got too overwhelming. Journalizing helped me and realize them instead of letting them spiral. I use digital calendars to organize my tasks and break them into smaller pieces, less intimidating pieces. I started telling myself, you don't need to figure out things out now. Just focus on what's next. Focus on the present time. Overthinking hasn't disappeared completely, but it doesn't control me anymore. Now, I know that I know how to pause, breathe, and refocus. So this is an example of my calendar, which is I set meetings on a regular basis, reminders for me to review, and a reminder for me to take small steps at a time, not just accumulating it in one day, which will be overwhelming to me or to every person that I know. For conclusion, this is what I learned in Uself. Taking Uself was more than just academic requirement. It was a chance to look inward and ask who I really am becoming. It taught me that growth isn't just about fixing everything overnight. It's about honest with yourself, about listening to struggles and responding with care. I learned that knowing yourself doesn't just have to be a dramatic journey, but sometimes it's just a series of quiet realization, one after another. I'm learning how to balance, to be mindful, to be productive, to be grounded, and to be kind to myself. I'm not perfect, but I know that weaknesses isn't something that to be ashamed of. It's a direction of growth. And most importantly, I understand that real success isn't just about achievements. It's about peace, purpose, and being proud of the person I am becoming. Small steps will become big steps ahead of time. Thank you so much for listening to my personal journey. Before I end, I want to take a moment to sincerely thank my professor for guiding us through this course with so much depth, patience, and intention. Honestly, this use of teaching uh, wouldn't have be the same impact on me if you didn't just go through the lessons because you made them come alive. You challenge us to reflect, to be honest with ourselves, and to be brave enough to confront who we really are. Your approach of teaching made this subject feel personal. It made me realize that discovering the self isn't just about class topic. It's a lifelong journey and one that's worth pursuing and openness and courage. So thank you so much for encouraging the growth, not just academic success, but for the sake of becoming a better human being. That made all the difference, sir. Because this class and because of your guidance, I walk away not just with knowledge, but with new self awareness, clarity, and confidence in who I am and who I want to be. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, Sir Howard. And you made this lasting impact on me, and I'll be carrying these lessons for this class for far beyond this semester. And once again, thank you everyone who listened for this presentation. May we all continue to grow, peace, and purpose. And lastly, most importantly, self-love. Thank you so much.